Hey, so I know it's been nearly, I think, a year since my last YouTube upload at this point. And there's been a number of reasons for that. One of them has been like financially. I didn't have the money to invest in the equipment that I really needed to take my time on YouTube to the next level. And I think that was one of the big reasons for me that I stepped back from it. And beyond that, the other big reason is I just really wasn't sure where to take my channel. In the background right now, you'll just see a little bit of like random Call of Duty stuff. I haven't really played shooters, honestly, very much for give or take 18-19 months, which was a big part of why I quit operating on YouTube. Mainly because I had initially viewed my channel as kind of like a gameplay thing, and I really hadn't thought much past that. You know, I didn't really have any long-term YouTube goals or any kind of structure for series or video logs or anything like that. I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and now I've kind of really thought about it over the last, I don't know, year, a lot, and whether or not I really was interested in continuing with YouTube. And you know, I've here and there like kept track of my subscriber count, and for some reason it stayed pretty steady. To be honest, I'm surprised it hasn't just like gone. But to be honest, I didn't have that many subs to begin with either. And you know, moving forward, I've been streaming a lot lately, and one of the reasons why I fell off of shooters more than anything is I was dissatisfied with Infinite Warfare. They're really, Titanfall 2 was great, but not a lot of people played it, and there was just like general issues for me, because my idea of playing a shooter and really playing mini games in general when it comes to multiplayer is I want to dedicate myself towards being as good at a given game as I possibly can. You know, I want to understand the ins and outs of it, the impactful features of a game, you know, what it means to be a successful team player if that's what it's about, and how to progress skill-wise within that given game. And honestly, I would be probably really damn good right now if I kept through with GBs instead of just completely giving it up at the end of Black Ops 3. I mean, I spent a little bit of time on Battlefield 1 on console, and then I played maybe a day on Modern Warfare Remastered. I don't think I made it past 6 hours on Infinite Warfare. I just didn't really like that game for a number of reasons. Not going to really go on about that, because one of the things I think that has really driven me away from YouTube, to be honest, too, is as I've watched it more and more, I notice there's a tendency to group mentality hate on things. And I'm not saying that in general, like some of the things that people have been upset about with gaming isn't necessarily like a thing that needs to be done. But I think at the same time, you know, the power of suggestion, you know, to yourself about how you feel about a given subject can be quite profound. And I think that one of those things that's underestimated for me is that, you know, as I got frustrated with certain things, I kept telling myself I was frustrated with this. I didn't like this new feature. I didn't like this. I didn't like that. And I put myself in a position where I just really wasn't finding any joy in the games I was playing either. And I've been trying to rebuild, you know, both my games library and my approach to gaming, and to kind of like go back to my roots and the things that made me happy in the first place. You know, what was it that brought me to gaming? Because for me, you know, if you want to go back a little bit in my history, I started on Super Nintendo. I was a Final Fantasy 3 player before I played anything else. Very first game I ever played. Didn't even play Mario or anything like that initially. My very first game that I was ever given, I was actually given a couple of games. FX Zero Racing, Secret of Mana, Final Fantasy 3, Jurassic Park for Super Nintendo, and that was the 4 games we were given initially. And the first one that I really gravitated towards was Final Fantasy. And then after that, I played Secret of Mana, and you know, I remember beating Kefka, the final boss, for the 3rd time in the end of the game. And this was like really before. I don't know. I can't remember if we had internet at this time. If we did, it was terrible. You know, and it would have been like dial-up. You know, not many people had internet at that time. Still, like, somebody having a home PC was not super common. Some people did. Check out this nade, though. Getting ready to bloop, with the pros. And that's the thing. Actually, I'm surprised at how little my skill has degraded. I'm definitely not as sharp and polished. I am not able to play as aggressively or quickly as I was, but you know, I haven't gotten any. I really haven't gotten bad. And I don't think it's going to take me much time to really get back into fighting shape. But the point being, you know, I spent a lot of time on that game, and I was in love with like comics, Dragon Ball Z, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh. I played those games. I collected Pokemon cards, and like many kids my age at the time, never even really understood how to play Pokemon. We tried, but you know, I was too young to really understand like the rule sets at the time. And you know, I think the first one that I really took seriously was playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and then we played a lot of Magic the Gathering when I was a kid. You know, I mean, I got into D&D pretty heavily, Dungeons and Dragons. You know, I painted miniatures, and overall, I was like a big tabletop gamer as well as a single-player gamer. There really wasn't much in the way of multiplayer games. I played shooters when I was younger, but it was like Delta Force, which, you know, not many people were like going hard. There wasn't a big there was no real competitive scene at the time. There was like local LANs that you could play. We had a place near where I lived where you could go like stay the night or stay late and like rent out and play LANs. You know, and people would come to your house even, or like you might set up for like an overnight, you know, sleeping party. First got to crash out. Yada yada yada. We'd play like Halo 2. I remember Combat Evolved, like the first like cross-map stick I ever got on my brother, and you know, I mean, like that was the extent of multiplayer gaming for a lot of people at that time. Because, I mean, hell, if you had internet at all, it was dial-up and it was shit, and you know, you really weren't able to play multiplayer games like that. And it just was like not as big of a hobby either. You know, that was right around when gaming started really blowing up. When I was that age, I was still considered like a nerd for that. You know, it really wasn't a thing that was cool. I was a nerd. You know, I was the dude that was into DBZ. Like, DBZ is popularized now. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I actually obviously think it's a great thing that a lot of these things have made it to the mainstream. But that's also, I think, like one of the conflicts with the quality of products, you know, and like just the way that the culture has gone. But for me, you know,